I think bias is probably the most relevant, especially if you are trying to develop applications that can impact other people's life. Recently in New York, for example, this new law requiring anyone using software for recruitment. If you want to recruit someone, well, you're in that business, right? So they have released a new regulation instead that if you are going to use any kind of software or machine or AI to select candidates or to make decisions around people's access to job, this needs to be very well explained, right? Or you need to be able to explain or audit the model somehow. I think that's quite difficult in practice because to audit a bias, I think it will be a complete new industry, by the way, I think around this kind of stuff, right? But for me, bias is one of the most important aspects around the ethical concerns. And of course, bad actors, right? In that sense. Now, something that I think it's a very big risk, which is not so obvious, is we are facing a variety now of new foundational models, or these, large language models or other generative AI models that are available, like, let's say, for anyone, open source. And I think one of the biggest risks for companies is to try to use some of these tools just out of the box, right? And I think that's a very big risk also, because if you have any kind of reputational exposure, you cannot just use these models as they come, right? Like as they are presented. Of course, many of these companies, they make good efforts around trying to have, good models, and the model doesn't give you any, try to avoid to hallucinate or to have like any kind of racist expression or anything else. But at the end of the day, these are models in which you have no idea how they were trained or what data they were trained. My view in that sense is that if enterprises want to use these models, I think you should use them, because obviously the power of large language models is more than obvious. But the way I'm looking at it is that, first of all, I need to understand if I can fine-tune these models to my specific use case. To give an example, something I have been working on is just to classify claims, right? In categories. I have the claim description and I try to classify that claim. If you cannot do this just out of the box, let's say if you want to use GPT-3 or any other of the large language models, right? If I want to use this for an enterprise application, for me, my first way of thinking is, yes, I may use these large language models. I can do transfer learning, but I should be fine-tuning them so the outputs I get from the model are very well and are limited to the kind of output I'm looking for. So the model doesn't go to any crazy place, right? So that's the way I'm looking at it.